There is a saying that has gone around, and it is, you can't go broke making a profit. Well, if you've heard that saying, you're listening to bad information. Toys R Us went bankrupt, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, but the year they went bankrupt, they had made a $751 million profit, but they didn't have enough money to service the $5 billion of debt that they had incurred in a leveraged takeover. What was the problem? It was cash flow.
Expert advice, practical tips, real-life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cash Flow Contractor.
Hey, cash flow contractors. This is Martin, obviously. Welcome to the Cash Flow Contractor podcast, where we're all about more free time, less stress, and more money. Khalil's out. He had a little baby girl last week. He'll be back in, I don't know exactly when, but he's home with mom, and I'm going to let him give all the details on that. But quite a blessing, and really, really happy for Khalil and Powell, his wife. So anyway, you got me. And one thing I wanted to do today was, I know I talk about cash flow a lot. I've talked about it in the past when I've talked about the cash flow statement, but I've got a little different approach I want to take here today. And cash flow is such a vastly, hugely important topic that we just can't get enough of it. I saw Kevin O'Leary on some video, Kevin O'Leary from Mr. Wonderful, I think it is, from the Shark Tank, talking about cash. And he said it's the only thing he cares about in business, because without it, there is no business. So I think there are other things to worry about, but I agree with him that without cash flow, you don't have a business. There is a saying that has gone around since I first started in business, and they say, and it is, you can't go broke making a profit. Well, if you've heard that saying, you're listening to bad information, because you most absolutely can go broke making a profit. And I didn't have to look far to find a really good example. Toys R Us went bankrupt, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, but the year they went bankrupt, they had made a $751 million profit. But they didn't have enough money to service the $5 billion of debt that they had incurred in a takeover, leveraged takeover. So what was the problem? It was cash flow. They did not have cash flow. So what is cash flow? I actually had a client ask me that not long ago. He looked at me a little, kind of looking over his shoulder to make sure nobody heard him. He said, "What is cash flow?" And he said, "Is it profit?" He said, "Is sales cash flow?" I said, "Well, it can be part of it, but the answer is no." We could start by what cash flow is by first mentioning what it is not. And it is not profit. Profit is the difference between sales and expenses. Remainder is, if it's positive, is profit. If it's negative, it is a loss. But neither sales nor expenses directly, or nor a P&L directly tell us anything about our cash. And here's why. You can buy things without paying for them now. So you can buy things without using cash, and you can sell things without having your customers pay you for it. That's accounts receivable. To buy things is accounts payable. So it's possible that money can go up or down or sideways, whatever. When you're just looking at a profit and loss statement, you don't know. Cash flow, on the other hand, is the movement of money into and out of the company. And by money, I mean it can be actual cash, but money is the ability to buy something and own it without incurring debt. So cash flow is the flow of money coming in and money going out. And income or loss affects cash. but it's only one or two of a number of things that affect cash. And I think the best way to go about it is to let's just use an example of a company. Let's say your company looks at your year-end profit loss and you made a nice round even $100,000. But you look at your bank app or your balance sheet for the same date and you see that your cash only went up $8,000. So what happened? That we made $100,000, but I only have $8,000 in cash to show for it. What the heck happened? Where did the other $92,000 go? Well, that's a great question, and let's just look at it. There can be a lot of places it went, but for good examples, and I'll have to look down so I get the numbers right, but let's just use some really common examples. Let's say over the last year that your accounts receivable went up by $40,000. So over the period of time that you earned $100,000, your accounts receivable went up. Well, accounts receivable are really an operation where you lend money to your client to buy whatever it is your customer, to buy whatever it is you're selling. That lending money reduces the amount of money that you have. So there's $40,000. Let's say that you further look down your balance sheet and then you see that your credit cards are down $20,000 or $10,000 from where they were at the beginning of the year. Same thing. If your credit cards are going to go down, that means that you had to take $10,000 of money out of your company and pay it to the credit card companies. You want to do that, nothing wrong with it, but that's partly where your cash went. Let's say that you keep looking and your accounts payable, the amounts that you owe vendors, has gone down by $20,000. It's the same thing again. For my payables to go down, I had to take $20,000 out of my company and pay it to my vendors, which means I no longer have that $20,000. As we keep looking through the balance sheet, we can also see that you paid down your truck loan by $12,000. So you took money out, paid down your truck loan. Maybe you made a down payment on a new skid steer for $5,000. So there's money that was in your business but had to go out to make the down payment on that new equipment. And let's say last, you took $5,000 out as a draw to pay for a family vacation. So if we look at those, that was $40,000 on receivables, $10,000 on credit cards, $12,000 pay on, or $20,000 on accounts payable, $12,000 paid down on your loan, and $10,000 between making a down payment on a loader and taking a draw. So what you can see is that the total of all those numbers are $92,000, and that explains exactly where our money went. So that is one way, and that explains what happened in a situation where you have less money than you had when than you made in profit. It also works the other way around, and I'll use the same examples, but I'll change them up a little bit. You've got the same company that made $100,000 profit last year. That's your company. But when you look into your balance sheet, you have $192,000 more cash than you had at the beginning of the year. $192,000 more. So what happened there? Is it magic? Did I make more money? Is it more profit? No, it's just the way cash flow behaves. Let's say that instead of your cash or your accounts receivable going up by 40,000, they go down by 40,000. That means somebody who owed you money as an your accounts receivable, their accounts payable, enough people dug in and they paid you 40,000. So you had your loan repaid to you. That provided 40,000. Let's say that the credit cards, instead of going down 10,000, went up 10,000. Same thing. You have essentially borrowed, but not essentially, you have borrowed money from your credit card company. Borrowing money increases the money that you have. Let's say that instead of borrowing or selling or paying down your truck, you actually went to your bank and borrowed a little more money against it because you thought you might need it for cash flow. And so that's $12,000 that you increased through financing an asset. Then let's say that you sold a used loader for $5,000 instead of $5,000 down payment on a new one. That provided you $5,000. And then in our last example, let's just say that you, instead of drawing $5,000 out of the business, put $5,000 in as a cash contribution. That increases your cash. So same thing, if we add them up, receivables were down, credit card was up, you borrowed $12,000 against the truck, you sold a used loader for $5,000, and you made an investment. The sum of all those things is that same $92,000. So instead of diminishing your profit, you have your profit plus $92,000, and that accounts for the $192,000. So that's a huge difference. There's a huge spread between on the same, I can't emphasize this enough, it's the same company, the same person, you made the same $100,000 profit, but in one eventuality, you have $8,000 increase in your cash. In the other, you have $192,000 increase. That's a major spread. That will change your life, okay? Those are reason enough to try to understand what I grant is confusing, but try to understand how cash flows. Cash always flows. It's flowing in, it's flowing out. What we're looking for is what's the net effect of the ins and the outs.
Quick ad break to tell you a little bit about OpenPhone. If you're a contractor that has a single cell phone, you're probably inundated with text messages and phone calls, oftentimes that you can't be responsive to or that you can't answer at all. So what's the solution? You can buy another office line with Verizon or AT&T, and you can have an iPhone that is passed around from employee to employee, depending on who's on call. But what if there's a better way? What if there's a way that you can have all your phone calls recorded to go back and listen to later, transcribed with summaries so that you can get a quick glance at what happened during the phone call, and even connect it to your CRM where all your other customer information is? OpenPhone is the perfect solution because it does just that. You're able to add all the users you need to for whoever needs to have access to the lines for your company phone. And then you can also find all of the information you need at a glance with a centralized location for all phone calls and text messages with your customers. Whether it's for marketing, for sales, or for service, OpenPhone is the perfect solution for you and your team. If you're interested, we have an offer down the show notes from OpenPhone. Please click the link down the show notes, or you can see it here on your screen to be able to find more information about OpenPhone. Thanks for listening. Back to the episode.
Now, because we're talking about cash flow, I thought I'd mention a few other things. When you get in discussions with people about cash flow, they use a lot of different words or different phrases, and one of them is just cash flow. What do people mean when they say cash flow? Well, very few really get into the nuts and bolts, and I say this from experience. I'll tell you why in a minute. But they don't get into it. But what they generally mean when they say, is the business cash flowing, means does it generate enough cash to pay its obligations with a little something left over? That's cash flowing. That's the way most people use it. There's another way people refer to cash flow as operating cash flow. That's a very important number, particularly if you ever decide you want to sell your business or maybe get a significant bank loan, particularly with banks. They're going to look at this every time. What is operating cash flow? That is the changes to cash that come around from the operations of your business. Things like accounts receivable, accounts payable, purchasing or selling inventory, paying on or borrowing more against credit cards. Those things have to do with operations, doing what you do. There are two other categories of things that affect cash, and they are investment, which means that you spend money to buy things. Investment to most of us sounds like it means stocks and bonds, but you also invest in trucks, buildings, equipment, things like that. That's investment. So you have your operations, but borrowing money to invest in things or investing in things that are not expenses is not does not count in operating cash flow. The last thing is, that's operating cash flow, is what's available as cash after operations of your business, not including investment and financing the investment. The next one is investing cash flow, what we just said. So you got your operating cash flow changes to cash due to the things that are, receivables, payables, credit cards. Investment, the things I just talked about, are more long-term assets that you're either buying equipment, you're selling equipment. It goes both ways. You buy equipment, it consumes your cash. You sell equipment, investing provides cash. And the last one is, how do you finance that? So did you do it out of cash into business, or did you get a bank loan using credit card, line of credit? How did you finance it? So those are cash flow in general, operating cash flow, which just involves operations. Operating cash flow, which is called free cash flow. I didn't say that. Operating cash flow minus the cash that you use to pay for assets is free cash flow. And that's cash flow available to do other things, retire debt or provide dividends. So those might be confusing just a little bit, but you will hear those words and maybe you can refer back to this. Now, the last thing is, if I just asked you to go out there and pay attention to everything individually, it'd be incredibly confusing, kind of drive you crazy. And there is a report. It's a report I've mentioned before. If some of you have looked at it before, you might be groaning, oh my God, he's not going to mention the statement of cash flow again. Yes, I am, because I had a great epiphany, and I've done it myself. It really works well. You can go into your QuickBooks or whatever books you have and print out, or get your bookkeeper or your accountant to print out a PDF of your statement of cash flow. Then take that statement of cash flow and load it into ChatGPT, and then do it with the following query. What should a business owner understand about this statement of cash flows specific to his business? Unbelievable. It will give you an analysis very close to what I just did, item by item by item, in just plain English, and tell you where your money came from and where it went. So that was kind of an epiphany for me. I encourage you to try it and just write it out in English. And I hope that by going through these specific examples and showing you a way to pull them all together by using the statement of cash flows, it will really help you, because it's the difference between ending the year, $100,000 profit year, with $8,000 additional dollars, or with $192,000 additional dollars. Now that's specific to my example, but you get the point. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this and it wasn't too crazy. And I hope you try printing out that statement of cash flow and running it through chat.
You made it to the end of the episode, but before you go, if you found yourself thinking about growing your construction business while listening today, I want to share something with you. It's called our 24 Things to Hiring and Training the Perfect Executive Assistant for Your Construction Business. And it's a free guide that we've created. It's not theory. It's what we actually use to help contractors hire the perfect executive assistant. And really, we help you find ways to delegate over 50% of your current workload and get back 20 hours of your time every single week. You didn't start your construction business to just be doing admin work, to be buried in paperwork and endless admin tasks. This is the guide that shows you exactly how to find and train someone who can actually take all that weight off of your shoulders. So this is a real actionable, great PDF that has templates and processes. It's really, really great. And I want you to check it out, even just to get your feedback and how we can make it even more valuable. But I know that you're gonna love it. The link is in the show notes. Please download it. We'd love to see how much of an impact it makes on you and your business. Thanks for listening to the full episode. Check out the guide. It's free. No reason to hesitate. No reason to wait. Download it now. And before you go, I just want to ask for your gracious subscription to our podcast. So if you have 2 seconds, it means the world to us. Just subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or if you'd like our weekly newsletter delivered to your inbox whenever we release an episode, please subscribe in the show notes. Every week, we're talking about real strategies on how you can grow and build a profitable construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, and more money. Click subscribe wherever you listen to the show, and thank you again for checking out The Cashflow Contractor. See you on the next episode.